Marvel. I can summon Naruto characters. Chapter 11. Hinata, don't eat instant noodles. We are not short of money now, let's go have a big meal. Zhang Ming waved his hand, indicating that he, Zhang Ming, would pay for this consumption. Hinata looked at the instant noodles reluctantly. Although she was a little reluctant, she still nodded her head. Itachi said that he wanted to eat dessert, and Zhang Ming agreed one by one. Anyway, hundreds of thousands of US dollars is not a small amount, and it will take a long time. The four of them had just walked out of Hell's Kitchen, and when they passed a corner, a black man happened to pass by. Bang bang bang. Uchiha Itachi stepped forward and knocked the opponent down with a combo, and very skillfully searched more than 200 US dollars from the opponent. Little Itachi, what the hell are you doing? Zhang Ming was stunned, thinking that this Uchiha Itachi was sick. Uchiha Itachi was also stunned for a moment, and then returned the money to the black man. Sorry, it's a conditioned reflex. The black man's mouth twitched, thinking, is this a conditioned reflex? I think you have an occupational disease. But the other party was just an 8-year-old child who could knock him down, not to mention the will-o'-the-wisp youth and the Asian youth next to him. After saying it was okay, he limped away. Zhang Ming also had a subtle expression, thinking that when this kid Uchiha Itachi meets Nick Fury in the future, he will not also use a set of combos and rob him of money, right? By the way, Uchiha Itachi's personality in the original work would definitely not be like this. Could it be that he has integrated his own personality? If so, will Minato and Hinata also integrate their personalities? Because he was robbed of his mobile phone by a black man before he crossed over, he had an inexplicable dislike for black people. By the way, Minato, what was your first reaction when you saw the black man who suddenly appeared just now? Well, it's strange, my first reaction was that the black man deserved a beating. Namikaze Minato scratched his head a little embarrassedly. He couldn't tell where this feeling came from. Logically speaking, he and the other party had never met before, so it shouldn't be right. Little Hinata also said weakly at this time, Zhang Mingjun, I seem to hate him very much too. Forget it, let's go have a big meal first. Zhang Ming shook his head and threw those messy thoughts aside. Several people were walking and chatting, and suddenly there was a commotion not far away, and then a car hit them. Zhang Ming and others quickly dodged, and at the same time opened their white eyes, looking at the source of the flying car with some anger, and couldn't help but be stunned. Through the vision of the white eyes, he saw a monster more than 3 meters tall. This monster is not the Hulk, it seems to be Abomination. Little Itachi, you are responsible for protecting little Hinata. Minato, let's go over and take a look. Okay. On the other side, on the streets of Manhattan, the abomination transformed by Bronski was wreaking havoc. Although he had gained great power, he had not lost his mind. Before he gained power, he was a soldier who defended his country. After gaining power, Bronski said that from now on, please call him a countryman, and a countryman who does not eat beef. Help! There's a monster. A black man ran towards Zhang Ming, and Minato Namikaze kicked him away reflexively, just like a bald devil kicking a wolf. Minato, what on earth are you doing? Sorry, it's a reflex. Minato smiled awkwardly and scratched the back of his head embarrassedly. Zhang Ming took a deep breath and decided to ignore this guy. Innocent people in front were crying for help, and a group of American police officers in the background shot at Abomination, but the bullets had no effect on Abomination. Bang! Abomination picked up a car and smashed it in the direction of the American police, killing a large number of people. Abomination's idea is very simple, that is to lure out the Hulk and kill him. By then, he will be the most powerful existence in America and can do whatever he wants. Mom, I want my mom. At this moment, the cry of a 4-year-old blonde girl holding a doll attracted Zhang Ming's attention. Zhang Ming stopped. According to the routine of Marvel movies, should he save the blonde girl and attract the attention of S.H.I.E.L.D. so that he can join the Avengers? But he is a member of Hydra now and will be the boss of Hydra in the future. Just as Zhang Ming was thinking about it, the hand of hatred had begun to approach the blonde girl. At this moment, a kunai engraved with the sword of love appeared in front of hatred. Swish! Minato Namikaze suddenly appeared, holding the little girl in one hand and condensing a fully stated Rasengan in the other hand, hitting the face of hatred without hesitation. Bang! The hatred was knocked out by the Rasengan. The little girl blinked and looked at the yellow-haired hedgehog-headed ghost fire youth who suddenly appeared and saved her. At this moment, she was in love. She knew that this was the Prince Charming in the fairy tale, and the next step was the prince defeating the big devil and marrying her, the little princess. Are you my Prince Charming? Sorry, I'm not your Prince Charming. Where is your mother, little friend? I'll take you to find her. Namikaze Minato smiled brightly, and this smile was so gentle. Wow! The little girl's heart was about to melt. She glanced at her mother who was about to rush over in a hurry, and said to Minato Namikaze seriously, I don't know where my mother ran off to, Prince, you have to protect me. Of course, Minato Namikaze didn't know the brain circuit of this 4-year-old kid, so he could only nod helplessly. The abomination climbed up, rubbed his face that was deformed by the Rasengan, and recovered after a while, then stared at Minato Namikaze, the culprit, viciously. Boy, I'm going to crush your bones one by one. If you can do it, just come over. Minato took out his kunai and was on guard. He was also a little surprised that the other party was fine after receiving the Rasengan. However, in such a critical moment, there are always people who do things that disrupt the situation regardless of the occasion, such as the little loli that Minato was holding. The little loli looked at Minato Namikaze's sunny and handsome face, like a little son, and couldn't help but kiss him. Then she felt that one kiss was not enough, so she kissed him a few more times. Hey, kid, what do you want to do? He. I'm the little princess, and you're the prince. What's wrong with the princess kissing the prince? Minato Namikaze was a little helpless. After all, the other party was just a little loli about 4 years old, so he couldn't say much. Hatred felt that he was offended. You have to know that he is a monster. The other party dared to ignore him. He simply didn't know how to live or die. He rushed over quickly and punched Minato Namikaze. Minato dodged quickly. Hatred's attack did not stop, and he kept punching Minato. Minato dodged easily, and from time to time threw a flying thunder god kunai around for backup. The little loli looked at the media around her with a proud face. The children in the kindergarten tomorrow will definitely envy her. This feeling is really great. Zhongming was watching the battle not far away. Although he could play with the abomination, it seemed that he had to enter the sage mode to kill it. As for the Shiki Fujin, only a fool would use it. Thinking of this, Zhongming put his hands together and began to gather natural energy. As for why Minato Namikaze could enter the sage mode in seconds during the Fourth Ninja World War, it was because he had the Yin Nine Tails in his body, and this Minato did not have. My god, is this something a human can do? General Ross exclaimed in a military helicopter. Awesome, who is this person? So handsome, I want to give birth to a baby with him. When people nearby saw the abomination being held by Minato, they simply stopped running and became spectators. It must be said that when it comes to courting death, no one can compare to these foreigners. Bug, is all you can do to hide. After fighting for so long, Abomination found that he couldn't even touch the corner of his clothes, and his temper rose. Who are you scolding? A bug scolded you, what's wrong? You're just a coward who can only hide. Seeing that he couldn't hit Minato Namikaze, the abomination simply picked up a car nearby and smashed it into the crowd nearby, and a black guy was knocked away. Minato Namikaze was thinking about whether to step forward to rescue him, but after finding out that the abomination was hitting a black man. Oh, that's okay. Looking at Zhongming who was condensing natural energy not far away, Minato felt relieved. As long as Zhongming enters the sage mode, he should be able to break the defense of the monster in front of him. The abomination also found that the other party didn't seem to care about civilians. Following Minato's gaze, he also found Zhongming with his hands clasped together, and the corners of his mouth rose. That's your friend, right? After saying that, the abomination quickly rushed towards Zhongming. He wanted this yellow-haired hedgehog to see the bloody scene of his friend being killed. Zhongming cursed Minato in his heart for being unreliable. Why bother watching your sister? Can't you wait a minute to watch? Fortunately, at this time, a humanoid object fell from the sky, and when it was about to fall to the ground, it quickly grew larger. Bang! A big green hand stretched out from the pit, and our green fat man officially appeared. Hulk. The abomination found that the real enemy finally appeared, so he decided to knock down the Hulk first. The two monsters ran towards each other frantically on the street. After just one encounter, the Hulk was thrown hundreds of meters away by the abomination. Is this all you are capable of? How could the green fat man stand such ridicule? He smashed a police car in half and used it as a weapon, then rushed over to smash the abomination. After fighting for a long time, he found that he only knocked out one of the opponent's teeth. The abomination was so frustrated by the fight with Minato, and he was full of anger, so he had to vent it. The angry abomination needed an opponent like the green fat man to help him vent his anger, so he rode on the green fat man's body and output crazily. Minato also took this time to send the little loli back to the crowd, and a blonde queen rushed over and took the little loli away. Aisha, are you okay? Of course the little girl is fine. She quickly broke free and stretched out her hands to Minato. Prince, you have to protect this princess. The blonde also noticed the handsome blonde boy next to her and quickly tidied her appearance. Hello sir, I am Aisha's mother. To thank you for saving Aisha, how about I invite you to my house for dinner tonight? No thanks. It's okay. By the way, I've divorced my husband and I'm a single mother now. When the little girl heard this, she was shocked. Was her mother trying to snatch the Prince Charming from her? Mom, don't go too far. Aisha, you are still young and you are frightened. Go to bed early tonight, okay? The little girl was unwilling to do so and quarreled with her mother in public. The mother and daughter, who had a good relationship, almost parted ways because of a yellow-haired ghost fire youth. Minato Namikaze, who was standing next to him, was sweating profusely. What the hell was going on? He shook his head. Since the little girl was safe, he didn't bother to care. He used Flying Thunder God to come to Zhongming's side. Zhongming, is it okay? Zhongming opened his eyes, and there was a touch of orange on his eyeshadow, and his eyes turned into frog eyes. I'm really angry now. Zhongming looked at the abomination who had already knocked down the green fat man, and threw a Flying Thunder God kunai. The next second, Zhongming used the Flying Thunder God's second stage to appear above the abomination's head, holding a super large blue ball in his right hand. Xian Fa, I'll take your liver and kidney. Boom. Before the abomination could react, it was hit in the face by a full status Xian Fa. Super Jade Rasengan. Xian Fa, the super high-speed rotation of the Super Jade Rasengan instantly crushed the abomination's head, and blood and flesh splattered everywhere. Looking at the headless abomination lying on the ground, it could still twitch its body from time to time. Compared to the Hulk, you are far inferior. I don't know if the abomination can hear it. As Zhongming finished speaking, his headless body stopped twitching. General Ross on the helicopter opened his eyes wide. He didn't expect that the abomination who could defeat the Hulk would be killed by the Asian youth in front of him. And the blonde hedgehog head just now, judging from their moves, the two are obviously in the same system. His daughter Betty was also very surprised. Since the abomination was killed, does it mean that Banner doesn't have to fight this monster anymore? Awesome, I killed that monster. Please kill the green monster too. Handsome, are you free tonight? The people around him exclaimed and applauded Zhongming. Zhongming looked at the crowd around him and felt that it would be a good idea to form a superhero team. Anyway, there would be a steady stream of Naruto characters to be summoned in the future. The team name was already thought of, it was called the Black Robe Picket Team, and he would be the boss, which was the position of the motherland. At this moment, the green fat man jumped over and roared at Zhongming. Roar! Why are you yelling so loudly? Come and hit me. Zhongming was not afraid at all, and raised his middle finger at him. Since he couldn't beat him anyway, he could just use Flying Thunder God to leave. As for how the people who stayed here to watch the show would face the mad green fat man. What did it have to do with him, since it was the Americans who would die anyway? The green fat man was very angry, and the consequences were serious. The little ant in front of him actually dared to raise his middle finger at him, and he was simply courting death. The green fat man rushed over and punched, but Zhongming deflected a kunai, and then instantly appeared behind the green fat man, hitting him on the back with a Rasengan, knocking him to the ground. The ultimate thunderbolt strike. However, the green fat man was not Obito. He had thick skin and flesh, so he quickly climbed up. Zhongming inherited not only the moves of Minato Namikaze, but also the bloodline of Itachi Uchiha. He opened the single Magatama Sharingan, took out a few shurikens and threw them out. The tails of the shurikens were tied with steel wires. After the shurikens collided and turned in the air, they tied up the green fat man in a short while. Sharingan windmill, suffocating dragon flame bomb like a python. As soon as Zhongming finished speaking, he used the dragon fire technique on the green fat man, and the flames attacked the green fat man along the steel wire. Boom! A burst of flames exploded, and the surrounding onlookers jumped up and cheered. However, the green fat man walked out unscathed, and the cheers around him stopped abruptly. The green fat man looked at Zhongming with contempt. Huh. Weak flames. Zhongming. Can Zhongming tolerate the ridicule of the green fat man? Of course not. 8 stars and 8 swords, fairy flower kunai millennium kill explosion technique. Zhongming took out 8 flying thunder god kunai and threw them at the green fat, and then used the 8 kunai to weave back and forth around the green fat. Ding ding ding. The green fat's defense is naturally needless to say. Although he can't hit Zhongming, Zhongming's kunai hit him, and it was not even a scrape. Swish. Zhongming returned to the original place, and the green fat was fine. The people around him were all confused. Is that the end? The other party seems to be fine. Zhongming smiled faintly, get ready to explode. Boom. As soon as Zhongming finished speaking, there was an anal explosion on the green fat's butt. The green fat was blown to the ground, and bursts of black smoke came out of the American buttocks. Zhongming curled his lips, saying that the Hulk's pants defense was invincible, but it was still pierced by an ordinary kunai. General Ross was stunned. The Hulk was actually played by the other party like a child. Is this still the humanoid nuclear bomb Hulk he knows? Roar. The green fat man got up and rushed towards Zhongming again, but Zhongming suddenly disappeared in front of him and appeared behind him in an instant. Zhongming held a kunai with a detonating talisman in his hand, and the corners of his mouth rose. He had just left the flying thunder god mark on the green fat man's butt. Puff. The green fat man's fragile flower was stabbed by a kunai again, followed by another explosion of anal fissures. Roar. The Hulk roared again, and then ran away without looking back. Although his defense is invincible, he is not afraid of digging out eyes, stabbing throats, and fatal beatings. But he, Bruce Banner, actually has hemorrhoids, so he decided to run away. The fans at the scene were silent. If Zhongming killed the Hulk like he killed the Abomination, they would definitely cheer for Zhongming. But they felt that it was not a superhero to drive away the Hulk in this way. Compared to Zhongming, they are more willing to follow Minato Namikaze. So, a large group of people surrounded Minato Namikaze and praised him. Zhongming was a little stunned. What's going on? What's going on? He killed the Abomination and defeated the Hulk. Minato just saved a little lowly. Did you get something wrong? It's not that no one cares about Zhongming, for example, our General Ross. Thank you very much for defeating Hulk and Abomination. I think we should have something in common. Zhongming waved his hand, indicating that he was not interested in the old man and told him to get out of here. Just when Zhongming was extremely depressed, a beautiful blonde reporter rushed over. Sir, can I interview you? Of course, no problem, beautiful lady. Zhongming straightened his appearance and smiled faintly. The reporter was obviously very excited. She thought that a superhero as powerful as Zhongming would be difficult to get along with, just like the middle-aged uncle flying around in an iron box. General Ross wanted to drive the reporter and photographer away, but Zhongming glared back. Old man, you better stay out of the way. Ross was furious, but considering that the other party had the power to kill the Abomination, he still retreated to the side. The beautiful reporter looked at General Ross proudly, and then bowed to Zhongming. First of all, on behalf of the people of Manhattan, I want to thank this gentleman for defeating the monster. You're welcome. As the saying goes, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. This is what I should do. Zhongming didn't care. The beautiful reporter looked at Zhongming with admiration and continued to ask questions. Sir, what should I call you? Just call me Zhongming. Okay, Mr. Zhongming, will you continue to fight against crime? Zhongming nodded, indicating that he would continue to fight against crime. Pa pa pa. The reporter applauded quickly, but unfortunately she was the only one clapping, and the applause sounded quite lonely. At this moment, Minato finally got rid of the group of fans and walked over. Zhongming, let's go back first. To be honest, he didn't like such occasions at all. He had just been touched by someone, his buttocks and kun. Of course, Zhongming was unwilling to let go of this kind of heat, and immediately shouted to the people around him. Who is the real hero? Is it Iron Man? No, he doesn't even dare to show up in the face of powerful monsters. Is it the American police? No, they are only fit to come out to clean up the mess. Zhongming said this and stepped forward and patted Minato on the shoulder. And he, my friend Golden Flash, is the real hero. Pa pa pa, the scene burst into warm applause again. Golden glitter. Gold glitter. Everyone at the scene shouted Golden Flash's name at the same time. Zhongming raised his hand and pressed it down. After the shouting stopped, he continued. Now I announce that my friend Golden Flash has officially debuted and is heading into Hollywood. Any agent who thinks he has the capability can contact me. Wow. There was an uproar at the scene. The fans were so crazy to hear that their idol was going to debut. Minato Namikaze was confused. He pulled Zhongming and asked softly, Zhongming, didn't you ask me to deliver takeout? You are stupid. With your fame of saving Manhattan, of course you should debut as a star, and then take endorsements and run commercial performances. Minato, you don't want little Hinata to starve to death, do you? Namikaze Minato always felt something was wrong, thinking that it seemed that you were the one who saved Manhattan, why don't you become a star? Of course he knew about stars, such as Fenghana and Xiaoyuki in the ninja world. But he is the fourth generation Hokage, and you asked him to be an actor, doesn't he have any face? Zhongming didn't care about that, and dealt with this group of enthusiastic fans very officially. It was not until Uchiha Itachi brought Hinata over that they used Flying Thunder God to leave. Shield, Director's Office. Black-blooded Egg's face turned even darker as he watched Zhongming's interview. He was planning to invite Zhongming and Namikaze Minato to join the Avengers, but now you want Namikaze Minato to be a Hollywood star, what's going on? But when he recalled the video he had just seen, Black-blooded Egg had a headache again. These two people are really too strong, and their abilities are elusive. People like Zhongming and Minato can use their space abilities to escape calmly even if they are facing Captain Marvel, unless they can find a way to restrain the other party's space ability. Thinking of this, he looked at Coulson beside him again. Coulson, do you think it would be better for us to invite them as SHIELD or to send an undercover agent to approach them? Director, didn't Zhongming say he wanted to recruit an agent for Golden Flash? We can send an agent over. Heilu Dan nodded. In fact, he preferred to directly invite Zhongming and Minato to join the Avengers. It's just that he didn't understand the characters of these people. Although they saved Manhattan, they also kidnapped his 3 ace agents not long ago. From the current point of view, Zhongming is the leader of this group of people. After thinking about it, Heilu Dan decided to send an undercover agent to infiltrate Zhongming's gang first, at least to find out whether these people are unforgivable villains. In a certain Seaview villa, the Iron Man, Tony Stark, who had just finished watching the news broadcast, also had a gloomy face. Especially when he heard Zhongming say that he was not a real hero. What a joke, he would be afraid of those 2 monsters. The reason why he didn't go and beat the 2 monsters to death was because he had just attended a banquet and knew it too late. He slandered me, Jarvis, he slandered me, send him a lawyer's letter. Sir, according to my calculations, Mark II is totally incapable of defeating those 2 monsters. Jarvis told the truth. Tony was a little unhappy. Jarvis, do you mean to say that I am being unreasonable? No sir, Mr. Zhongming did defame you. Tony nodded in satisfaction. It seemed that his Jarvis did not need to be upgraded. However, before he could feel proud for a while, Jarvis' voice continued to come. Mr. Zhongming did slander you and Obadiah Stan for causing the death of his parents, and he did not receive any compensation. Tony then remembered that Zhongming was just a jerk who participated in the $0 shopping, and he still had the nerve to say that he was a real hero. The next day, Zhongming's rental house welcomed an acquaintance, the Black Widow who he had kidnapped. Hey, miss, you look familiar. Have we met before somewhere? Natasha rolled her eyes. Yes, we have met before. 3 days ago, I was Mr. Zhongming's hostage. Zhang Ming also rolled his eyes, thinking that Shield was out of people. They actually sent an acquaintance here. Tell me, what do you want from me? If you want to settle a score later, I advise you to consider whether you have the ability to do it. No, no, no. My name is Natalie Portman, and I'm here to apply for the position of Mr. Watergate's agent. You drive an Aston Martin and you still need a job. The car was just rented, and the insurance company will compensate for it. Natasha didn't blush, and she cultivated the self-cultivation of an actor to the extreme. Zhang Ming pointed at Hinata. Defeat her, as long as you beat her, you can be successful in the application. Mr. Zhang Ming, are you sure? Natasha asked uncertainly, looking at Hinata, who was only 8 years old and looked cowardly. She knew the information about Uchiha Itachi and knew that she would not be able to beat him, but this was the first time she had seen Hinata. The little girl's eyes were white. Did she have cataracts? Hinata raised her hand weakly. Mr. Zhang Ming, can we not fight? Beat her and I'll take you to a big dinner tonight. If you can't beat her, you can just eat instant noodles. Faced with the temptation of a big dinner, Hinata nodded seriously and took the starting position of the soft fist. Hyuga Hinata, please teach me. Natasha was stunned. Having seen Uchiha Itachi's strength, she was not careless when facing the 8-year-old Hinata. She quickly attacked, intending to catch the enemy off guard and defeat him with one move. However, soft boxing, Bagua 16 palms. 2 Bagua palms, 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms. The fight was over. Natasha lay on the ground powerless, with a look of doubt on her life, staring at the ceiling with lifeless eyes. She was a senior agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and her nickname Black Widow made her enemies terrified. She was beaten down by an 8-year-old girl without even letting her guard down. Who could she complain to? Zhang Ming looked down at her. I'm sorry, you failed the application. Mr. Zhang Ming, an agent is not a bodyguard, so he shouldn't need good skills, right? Zhang Ming was too lazy to pay attention to her. He left the room and found a place where no one was. He called Pierce to cultivate his relationship. Mr. Pierce, I suspect there is something wrong with this Natalie Portman. She does have a problem. She is an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Fury told me that he wants to set up a special department, and you and Minato are among those invited by Fury. I hope you can go in undercover. Okay, Mr. Pierce, I know what to do. After Zhang Ming hung up the phone, he thought to himself that Pierce seemed to have failed in Captain America 2. Now there are more than 3 years before Captain America 2, maybe by that time he will have summoned Uchiha Madara, Six-Path Sage and so on. It seems that he needs to climb to the top of Hydra as soon as possible, and wait until Pierce fails, so that he can take his place. Zhang Ming is very clear about the future direction of the Avengers. It is constrained by the Security Council everywhere, and it has been cracked several times, and there will even be a civil war. Compared with the Avengers, it is more comfortable to stay in Hydra. Everyone in it is talented and speaks well. As the successor of Hydra, he must help Hydra become bigger and stronger. When Zhang Ming returned to the room, Natasha stretched out her right hand to him. Hello Mr. Zhang Ming, please give me more advice in the future. What's going on? What does, please give me more advice, mean? Mr. Minato has already signed. I will be Mr. Minato's agent in the future, so I said please give me more advice in the future. Zhang Ming glanced at the embarrassed Minato, thinking that you are the 4th generation Hokage, how could you be fooled into signing? But it's better this way, I don't have to waste my breath. Anyway, Pierce also let him go undercover in the Avengers. Well, since Ms. Portman is Watergate's agent, let's take him to endorsements and commercial performances, and make some money as soon as possible so that we can move to a better house. I've had enough of this room. Ah, okay. Natasha looked around and saw 2 beds and 2 bunks on the floor, empty instant noodle cups and lunch boxes everywhere. The environment was terrible. She thought to herself, no wonder you have to be kidnappers, it turns out you are really poor. In the following period of time, Minato relied on the popularity of saving Manhattan to receive countless luxury brand endorsements and commercial performances. He suddenly became a hot Hollywood star and was always in the center. Even the former top-tier Iron Man could only be placed in a corner when he was on the cover with him. Just a cameo in a movie or TV series can earn him tens of millions of US dollars. In just 1 month, Minato earned 200 million US dollars. Thanks to him, Zhongming and others successfully moved into a large villa with a sea view. One day, Minato finally couldn't help it. He found Zhongming, threw a script and complained, "Zhongming, can I not take this movie? What's wrong? Is the pay not enough?" Zhongming didn't even bother to read the script and asked directly about the pay. It's not about the pay, which was $30 million, but about the scene. Take it, Minato, you must take it. It's a $30 million US dollar commission. I've got my eyes on a Koenigsegg supercar. How can I get one if you don't work hard to make money? Zhongming was also too lazy to read the script. He stepped forward and put his arm around Minato's shoulder, admonishing him earnestly. But he sneered in his heart. It was just a scene, wasn't it? Besides, you don't need to see that the actress who can act with Minato is a Hollywood A-list actress. Minato looked at Zhongming in disbelief, thinking, did he work hard to make money just to help you buy a sports car? Before he could say anything, Natasha stopped pretending and confronted Zhongming directly. Mr. Zhongming, Nick Fury is looking for you. Who is Nick Fury? Zhongming pretended not to know him. The director of S.H.I.E.L.D., my boss. Natasha's mission here was to examine the character of this group of people. After a month of observation, she found that there was nothing wrong with this group of people. Apart from being greedy for money and liking to exploit Minato, Zhongming seemed to have no shortcomings, so it was not a big problem. There was no need to look at Minato. He was humble and polite, hardworking, and his only shortcoming was that he was a little racist, like he didn't like black people, so it was not a big problem. Uchiha Itachi liked guns and robbed black people, these were all minor problems, so it was not a big problem either. Hyuga Hinata was cowardly, a big eater, and hated black people, but it was not a big problem either. It seemed that except Zhongming, everyone else had some racist shortcomings. This was the result of Natasha's observation after a month. Zhongming glanced at Natasha. Mission impossible, you're fired. You don't have the final say. You don't represent Mr. Watergate. Minato, tell her if I can represent you. Zhongming was unhappy. What did he mean he couldn't represent Minato Namikaze? He summoned Minato, and he helped Minato become a big star. Wasn't he good enough to Minato? Although Minato hated the job that Zhongming arranged for him, he still said seriously that Zhongming could represent him. Natasha rolled her eyes, thinking that there are really people who are willing to be a leak. Mr. Zhongming, let me introduce you again. This is Agent Romanov, your future colleague. Just then, a one-eyed black brined egg wearing a leather coat and cape, with a pretentious look on his face, swaggered in. Zhongming curled his lips. I remember there seemed to be a security guard at the door of the villa. How did you get in? As long as I want, I can enter anywhere. Hailu Dan was proud of himself. In addition to the title of Fool Man, he also had another title called Sudden Appearance to Scare You Man. Natasha seemed to think of something. Chief, be careful. Hailu Dan was confused. He didn't understand why Natasha asked him to be careful. But he soon found out. A little brat in the villa suddenly attacked him. He was knocked down in a few moves, and then his pockets were empty. His wallet, ID, and some high-tech gadgets were all looted. Zhongming said unhappily, Little Itachi, what are you doing? Uchiha Itachi was stunned for a moment, and when he reacted, he quickly apologized to Nick Fury, sorry, it's a conditioned reflex. Hailu Dan was still confused at this time. What is a conditioned reflex? You are committing a robbery crime. After Nick Fury sat down, he straightened his clothes and returned to his pretentious look just now. Mr. Zhongming, since your debut, you have robbed 3 black people, robbed Hermes, and kidnapped 3 of our S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Your identities were handled by Rumlow. Black Stewed Egg recounted all the bad things Zhongming had done since he traveled through time. So what? Black Braised Egg stood up, put his hands on the table, and stared at Zhongming with his one eye. I invite you to join the Avengers I have formed, and I will help you clear up the sins you have committed before. Zhongming pointed at Itachi and Hinata. Little Itachi and Hinata are just children. Hailu Dan complained in his heart, thinking that little Hinata could defeat Natasha, and that evil little Itachi just robbed him, and now you tell me they are just children. However, considering that the fighting power of the 2 children is indeed not that good compared to Minato and Zhongming, Hailu Dan did not force it. I didn't say invite 2 kids, I said you and Minato. Sorry, Minato still has to make money to support us. Don't worry, my department is very relaxed. As long as there are no missions, Minato can continue to be his star. Black boiled egg didn't say anything about salary or anything. After all, that salary was not even a fraction of what Minato earned as an artist. Zhang Ming nodded. Pierce had asked him to be an undercover agent in the Avengers, so he agreed without hesitation. Where frogs dance, snakes also live endlessly. Snake eggs will be hatched in the stomach of snakes, and new snakes will sprout. This is the will of snakes. Everything he did was for the will of snakes. Black boiled egg finally breathed a sigh of relief. He thought he would have to waste some words, but he didn't expect the other party to agree so readily. Next, Black boiled egg turned his gaze to Natasha. Since Zhang Ming and Minato have agreed, then Agent Romanov, the task of inviting the big guy is up to you. Natasha. What a joke, asking her to invite the Hulk. Once that guy goes crazy, she won't have enough lives to die. Nick Fury didn't care about that. After explaining the task, he got up and left. He felt that his appearance today was a little imperfect, and he didn't succeed in pretending to be cool, all because of that evil kid named Uchiha. If it were according to the original plot, Nick Fury would form the Avengers only when Loki led the Chidori to invade New York. But now with the appearance of Zhang Ming, Minato and others, Nick Fury realized the insufficiency of his own strength, so he moved it forward 2 years. There was no other way. After Natasha, Barton and Melinda were kidnapped, Nick Fury had no one available, so he made this decision. Natasha, who was about to leave for Brazil, suddenly stopped and cast her eyes on Zhang Ming. Mr. Zhang Ming, can I invite you to accompany me to Brazil? Zhang Ming waved his hand. Let Minato go with you. Natasha felt that Minato could also do it, but he was definitely not as useful as Zhang Ming. Facing the Mad Hulk, Minato could only take her away calmly. But Zhang Ming was different. Even the Hulk had been killed twice by Zhang Ming in the past 1,000 years, so he must have had a psychological trauma. Thinking of this, Natasha made a charming expression. Mr. Zhang Ming, can't you help me? Okay. Well, I'll go arrange for the Kun fighter. No need. Natasha looked puzzled. They were going to Brazil. If they didn't take a Kun fighter, would they take a passenger plane? Zhang Ming stood up and patted Natasha on the shoulder, and then, whoosh, the two of them appeared behind Bruce Banner's butt in an instant. Because the mark of the Flying Thunder God will not disappear, Zhang Ming left the mark of the Flying Thunder God on Hulk's butt in the last battle. Africa, Brazil, a shower room in a village. Bruce Banner, who was taking a shower, was stunned, and the soap in his hand fell to the ground unconsciously. He suddenly felt a chill on his back, and always felt that something he hated appeared behind him. Just as he was considering whether to pick up the soap on the ground, a voice came from behind him. Mr. Banner, your soap has fallen. Bruce Banner. Located in a shabby house in the slums of Brazil. Banner sat upright like a little bottom, and looked at the carefree Zhang Ming opposite him with a wrong face. Not to mention Bruce Banner, even Hulk had some psychological trauma on Zhang Ming. He didn't expect that there were such shameless people in the world who actually used detonating talismans to blow up other people's flowers. What a fool. Although Natasha saw Banner's naked body, she had seen a lot of such things, so there was nothing to be embarrassed about. She was just shocked that she was in New York in the last second, and Zhang Ming could take her to Brazil in the next second. This ability was so useful. Let me introduce myself. I'm Natasha Romanov, and this is Zhang Ming. Bruce, just avoiding me is not a solution. Then you shouldn't have appeared behind me when I was taking a shower. Do you know how excited I was at that time? The other me inside me almost came out. When Natasha heard Banner talking about the other me, she unconsciously moved closer to Zhang Ming to avoid being beaten to death by Hulk. Banner also cast his eyes on Zhang Ming. How did you appear behind me? Zhang Ming pointed at his butt. There is the Flying Thunder God Mark 1 left on your butt. As long as you are on Earth, I can appear behind you. I want to remove the mark on my butt. Banner slammed the table and stood up. Isn't this bullying an honest man? What if he is doing that with his girlfriend, and Zhang Ming suddenly appears behind him? Then he is likely to transform into the Hulk. If he turns into the Hulk, then his girlfriend. If Jiang Ming pats his butt and walks away, will the judge rule him a perverted murderer? Jiang Ming shook his head, it's useless. Once the flying thunder god mark is engraved, it cannot be removed, even if you cut off all the skin on your body, unless. Unless what? Unless you turn into ashes, or even if only a skeleton remains, the flying thunder god mark will not disappear. Bruce Banner. In any case, Banner was persuaded and successfully joined the Avengers. Nick Fraser went to the Arctic and heard that the plane that Captain America had crashed was found. But none of this had anything to do with Jiang Ming. After sending Banner and Natasha to S.H.I.E.L.D., he returned to his villa by the sea and had a good sleep. The next day, a piece of news caught Jiang Ming's attention, that is, Tony Stark went to Monaco to participate in the car race. Apart from anything else, although the Whiplock's scientific research ability is not as good as Tony Stark, it can barely be regarded as a low-profile version of Iron Man. The Air Force, Army, and Navy robots are still quite good, and they need such talents in Hydra. Because Tony found that the toxin content had reached 53% when he measured the toxin content last time, he knew that if he could not find a new element to replace the palladium element, he would not live long. In order to relieve his bad mood, he participated in this Monaco car race. Jiang Ming also came to the Monaco race that day, and the roar of sports cars resounded throughout the venue. Halfway through the race, a staff member broke into the track. He ripped open his shirt, revealing the same reactor as Iron Man on his chest. He stretched out his hands, and the electric whip of his weapon was fully activated. His clothes also burned up, and the effect of his appearance was fully activated. Facing the oncoming car, he split the car in two with a whip. Tony, who was following behind, was shocked, but before he could react, Whiplock also split his car in two. Whiplock approached Tony step by step, without holding back at all, and launched a lightning 5 consecutive whip. Tony, who was unarmed, was beaten without any ability to fight back. After all, this was the lightning 5 consecutive whip passed down by Master Ma. At the critical moment, Happy drove with Pepper to arrive in time, and slammed Whiplock hard against the fence. Happy backed the car and wanted to continue to hit Whiplock with the car. Jiang Ming knew that it was time for him to appear. He put on a shit yellow spiral mask, revealing only one eye, and jumped in front of Whiplock. A palm with chakra attached to it was pressed in front of the car, and then pushed the car hard, saving Whiplock, leaving a handprint on the car. Happy and Pepper looked incredulous. Whiplock stared at Jiang Ming blankly, and the one-eyed man under Jiang Ming's mask also stared at him, and the two looked at each other. Unfortunately, Whiplock was not Bella, and Jiang Ming was not Edward, so Jiang Ming slapped him unconscious without hesitation, and then took him away from the scene with a few jumps. Tony put on the Mark V mecha and chased after him, but after Jiang Ming jumped out of the racetrack, he used the Flying Thunder God technique to leave. Jarvis, start searching. Sorry sir, I can't find the other party's trace. Tony cursed inwardly. The other party could actually build a reactor exactly like his. And the masked man who just rescued Whiplock, he must find out the truth. On the other side, Jiang Ming threw the unconscious Whiplock aside, took out a special mobile phone from his pocket and dialed a number. Mr. Pierce, I encountered a very interesting thing in Monaco. Yes, the other party can build the same reactor as Tony Stark. I think we at Hydra need such talents. Okay, no problem. Jiang Ming and Pierce briefly explained the situation and added at the end. Long live Hydra. After hanging up the phone, Jiang Ming brought Whiplock to a place he had agreed to meet with Pierce. Not long after, a Kun fighter plane slowly landed, and Crossbones got off the plane and saluted Jiang Ming. Sir. Jiang Ming frowned, where is Mr. Pierce? Sir, Minister Pierce is not here, I will take you to the secret base in Sokovia. Jiang Ming was a little unhappy. After all, he was loyal to Hydra and treated Hydra as his own home. He had joined for more than a month. Pierce had not come to see him even once. This was too unfair. It seemed that Pierce had betrayed the will of the snake and could not be kept, otherwise it would only restrict the development of Hydra. On the plane, Jiang Ming was more or less embarrassed. After all, the Crossbones in front of him was still his creditor. Thinking of this, Jiang Ming stepped forward and patted the other's shoulder. Comrade Crossbones, don't worry, as long as you follow me well, I will give you the same abilities as me. Go through fire and water, sir. Crossbones was excited. After all, the man in front of him could kill the abomination and defeat the Hulk. If he had such ability, he would never eat beef again. The sky gradually darkened, and the Kun fighter landed on the rooftop of a Hydra secret base. Zhang Ming left a flying thunder god mark nearby, and after entering the base, he handed the unconscious whip lock to some Hydra scientists in white coats. Help him brainwash, we at Hydra need people who can build mechas. Yes, sir. Long live Hydra. No matter when and where, the character of loving Hydra must be established first, and only after Pierce falls can he take over Hydra. This Hydra base is located in Sokovia, Eastern Europe. Along the way, there were experimental subjects everywhere, and Zhang Ming had nothing to sympathize with. Would he have to stop Orochimaru from doing experiments when he summoned him in the future? It's just that his identity in Hydra is very embarrassing. Logically speaking, his identity is not as good as Crossbones. But he has strength, so Pierce gave him great privileges. However, when passing a room, Zhang Ming was suddenly stunned. A little girl about 13 years old waved her hands, and several square wooden blocks were held up by a red energy. Who is this? Sir, her name is Wanda Maximoff. She is an experimental subject who absorbed the cosmic cube and is not very stable at the moment. A scientist answered. Zhang Ming nodded and didn't say much. He went to the next room and took a look. A white-haired kid was moving in the room at super high speed. Even if he opened the single Magatama Sharingan, he couldn't capture the other party's movement trajectory. No need to look, this is Wanda's brother, Pietro Maximoff, who is faster than a bullet. I don't understand why he was killed by an ordinary bullet in the original book. Zhang Ming thought, these two brothers and sisters are good things. Especially Wanda, who can grow to the point of tearing Thanos apart with her bare hands, and must find a way to get her. Rumlow, can you tell me if I can take these two siblings away? This requires Minister Pierce's consent. I can't make the decision. Crossbones didn't dare to make the decision on his own, lest he be blamed by his superiors, which he couldn't afford. Zhang Ming didn't make things difficult for Crossbones. He called Pierce in front of him. As a result, the other party not only didn't agree, but also scolded him on the phone. Even Crossbones and several scientists beside him heard Pierce's scolding on the phone, and their eyes were a little evasive. After Zhang Ming hung up the phone, he sighed slightly. It seems that Pierce has betrayed Hydra. What? Crossbones looked at Zhang Ming in disbelief, thinking he had heard it wrong. You know, Pierce is the highest commander of their Hydra, how could he betray Hydra? Zhang Ming glanced at Crossbones with his single Magatama and quietly cast an illusion on him. Even though Crossbones is a well-trained soldier, he is just an ordinary person after all. Not only does he have Uchiha Itachi's single Magatama Sharingan, he also has the strength of Minato Namikaze Kage. It would only take a few minutes to control Crossbones. As for the scientists, there is no need. After all, this group of people only know how to research and will not fight for power. Open the door. Yes, sir. Crossbones nodded mechanically and ordered someone to open the door. Several scientists were a little overwhelmed. Logically, they should obey Pierce's orders. After all, they heard what Pierce said on the phone just now. But now Pierce is not here, and Zhang Ming and Crossbones are obviously in cahoots. If they don't listen, it is hard to guarantee that they will not be shot on the spot. Zhang Ming glanced at the person in charge in a white coat and said in a cold tone, "Didn't you hear it?" Yes, sir. The door opened and Zhang Ming walked in. Looking at Wanda, who was only 13 years old, and thinking back to Elizabeth in the original book, he wondered why the difference was so big. Follow me. Okay. Zhang Ming was stunned. What happened? He thought it would take a long time to persuade him, but he just opened his mouth and the other party agreed. Are you going to agree to this? After all, this is our first meeting. Don't be so arrogant just because I'm handsome. You think too much. Wang Da waved his hand, and a red chaos magic surrounded Zhang Ming's head. I can feel that you have no ill will towards me, and I can also read your thoughts. Zhang Ming frowned. Other things are fine, but if the other party can even read the secrets of his own system, then what will happen? Don't read my thoughts anymore or I'll kill you. I'm sorry, could you please help me release my brother as well? Wanda smiled and retracted the chaos magic. Although she sensed Jiang Ming's anger, she also sensed his kindness and knew that Jiang Ming would not hurt them. Brother. Shouldn't it be elder brother? Jiang Ming was a little confused. He is the younger brother and I am the older sister. We are twins and have been imprisoned here by Hydra for several years. Wanda explained excitedly. Don't say such harsh words. You voluntarily joined Hydra's research because you have a grudge against Tony Stark and want revenge. We at Hydra are an organization that is willing to help others. If you keep talking nonsense, I will sue you for defamation. Jiang Ming was a little unhappy. You know, he has regarded Hydra as his own private property, so how could he let people slander Hydra at will? Wanda curled her lips. Although they, the brother and sister, voluntarily joined the Hydra experiment. But Hydra directly locked them in a room for several years, which was too much. Jiang Ming came to the door of another room and found Pietro inside looking around. When he saw Wanda outside, he was obviously stunned. Wanda, why are you outside? Pietro, we will be free soon. Wanda smiled at Pietro. Just when Pietro was a little confused, his door opened with a click. Stop dawdling, Wanda, hold Pietro's hand. Although Wanda didn't understand why, she did as he asked. Jiang Ming put his hand on Wanda's shoulder, and then, with a swish, the three of them went straight back to the villa. It has to be said that Flying Thunder God is so easy to use, as long as there is a marked point, you can reach the destination in 1 second. Wanda and Pietro were stunned for a moment, and when they reacted, they were shocked. They were still in the Hydra base in Sokovia in the last second, how come they were in an unfamiliar villa in the next second? Hinata and Uchiha Itachi have been sent to school by him, and Minato still needs to be an artist to make money to support his family. Pietro was the first to react. You are Golden Flash, right? Oh, you also know about Golden Flashes. Jiang Ming was a little surprised. Could it be that this pair of siblings could contact the outside world? I heard what the guards said. Wanda explained with a smile. Jiang Ming nodded, as if he remembered something. He remembered that there was nothing in the cell where the two siblings were imprisoned. How did they solve their daily life? By the way, how do you usually solve the problems of urination, defecation and bathing in the Hydra base? Wanda turned her head to the side, obviously not wanting to answer. Pietro didn't think it was a big deal, and when he was about to answer, he was glared at by Wanda. Seeing that the two didn't want to answer, Jiang Ming didn't continue gossiping. At this moment, Minato Namikaze came back with a look of despair on his face. Jiang Ming glanced at him with some confusion. Minato, what's wrong? Nothing. Minato looked at Jiang Ming with resentful eyes. The reason why he had no desire to live was because he was forced by Jiang Ming to film a scene. Why else could it be? He was the fourth Hokage, a powerful figure at the top of the cage level, but he actually fell to the point of filming a romantic scene for money. Jiang Ming directly ignored Minato's gaze. He even suspected that this guy was playing with Versailles. You have to know that his boss is just a model at most. You can shoot a bed scene with a first-line Hollywood actress, but you still despise it. In the Snake Shield Bureau, when Pierce learned that Jiang Ming blatantly violated his orders and took away his 2 test subjects, he was furious at first, and then dialed Jiang Ming's secret phone without hesitation. However, Jiang Ming didn't want to give him face. He had the strength and connections, and he could use illusions to build connections if he didn't have any. Why should he listen to Pierce? Besides, Pierce has been planning for so many years. Does he have the courage to fight him to the death? Mr. Pierce, Wanda and Pietro are very useful to me, so just leave them alone. Asshole, those 2 siblings are my secret weapons. I give you 1 day to send them back to the base. Pierce has never been so angry in his life. Who does this think he is? He takes everything he sees. Does he really think he doesn't dare to kill people? Jiang Ming was not threatened by Pierce at all and continued to answer slowly. Mr. Pierce, are you planning to betray Hydra? What? What did you say, asshole? Mr. Pierce, recognize your identity. You are the top leader of Hydra. If you dare to betray Hydra, then I can only set things right. Humph. Jiang Ming snorted coldly, and then hung up the phone without hesitation. Asshole. When Pierce heard the busy tone on the phone, he threw the phone to the ground in anger. What do you mean by, set things right? He is one of the top leaders of Hydra. Can this phrase be used on him? After venting for a while, Pierce quickly calmed down. With the strength of Zhongming and Minato, it would be very easy to kill him. This is also the reason why he has not met Zhongming until now. Once he leaves the Flying Thunder God mark on him, it is equivalent to his life being in his hands. Zhongming is an unstable factor, so it seems that he can't stay here. On the other side, Zhongming and Pierce had almost the same idea. After hanging up the phone, he also muttered to himself. It seems that this Pierce can't stay. Wanda asked curiously. Zhongming, who is Pierce? One of the top leaders of Hydra. I suspect he betrayed Hydra, so I decided to find a chance to get rid of him. Wanda and Pietro looked at each other. Zhongming did not avoid the phone call just now, and they both heard it. It seemed like you were trying to seize Pierce's power, so how did it become Pierce betraying Hydra? But neither of them said anything. After all, compared to Zhongming, they hated Hydra more. Zhongming, how about I go and kill Pierce? Compared to being a star, Minato is more willing to do missions, such as killing Pierce. Don't worry, Minato. What you need to do now is to make money quickly. I am still waiting to buy a sports car. Zhongming rubbed his chin and thought, he must fight for Whiplock. The reason why he sent it to Hydra now is because he has no resources. When Whiplock develops the mecha, he will cooperate with the military and replace Tony to become the arms tycoon of the United States. On the other side, Tony Stark also watched the surveillance video at the Monaco racetrack. Sir, there is a 90% chance that the masked man is Zhongming, who killed Abomination and defeated Hulk. Oh, and why not Gold Glitter? Minato was filming Don't Look Back at that time and had an alibi. After listening to Jarvis' analysis, Tony was furious. It seemed that Zhongming was deliberately trying to make things difficult for him. Although the two had never met formally, they had some connection. The first time, Zhongming lied to him that his fight with Obadiah killed his parents. The second time, Zhongming said in an interview that he was not a real hero. The third time was even worse, as he openly rescued Ivan Vanko who attacked him. Tony wanted to put on his Iron Man suit to teach Zhongming a lesson, but considering the opponent's combat power, his Mark V might not be able to beat him. Jarvis, what do you think is the chance of Mark V winning if he fights Zhongming? Sir, after 14,060,500 operations. Tony. Oh, so rigorous, how many times have I won? Jarvis. Once. Tony. His toxins have reached 90%, and he is about to die. Is Jarvis still a human being? Because Tony was stimulated by Jarvis and his life was about to end, he decided to let himself go. That night, he held a party in the villa. At the party, he danced coquettishly in the iron armor and even peed inside the armor. This made Colonel Rhodes, who was standing by, very angry. He came to Tony's treasure house and stole a Mark II. After teaching Tony a lesson, he left. Zhongming also sneaked into Tony's treasure house. He also wanted to steal a war armor like Rhodes did. Although he could beat 10 Mark Vs with his strength, the war armor was a man's romance. However, the identity verification failed. Zhongming was silent. He felt targeted. Rhodes could steal the war armor, so why couldn't he? But it didn't matter. He still had Ivan Vanko who could make the whip armor. Then he would let Tony taste the 5-whip lightning. Thinking of this, Zhongming used the Flying Thunder God technique to steal all the Mark armors he could see, and sent them to the Hydra base in Sokovia, and gave the armors to Ivan Vanko for modification. For safety reasons, Zhongming also used illusion to control him, so that this guy would not cause any trouble for him again. These armors need to be equipped with weapon systems. Weapon system. Zhongming immediately thought of his ex-wife from Hammer Industries, but considering his ex-wife's character, he finally gave up. All of you must cooperate with Ivan's research. If Pierce comes, notify me immediately. Ah, okay. These Hydra researchers did not refute. Now Zhongming did not even call him, sir, but directly called Pierce. It can be seen that the struggle among the top leaders of Hydra has reached a white-hot level. But they are just ordinary researchers, and they just do what their superiors tell them to do. Anyway, if Zhongming comes, they listen to Zhongming, and if Pierce comes, they listen to Pierce, so that they can save their lives. Zhongming nodded with satisfaction. As long as Pierce dared to appear here, he would dare to control Pierce with illusion and let him experience what the true will of the snake is. On the other side, Nick Fury found Tony and told him the Avengers' plan, hoping that Tony would join. Golden Flash and Zhang Ming. Did you know that they are in the same group? Zhang Ming also rescued Ivan Vanko who attacked me. Nick Fury was a little overwhelmed. What Tony could find out, he could also find out. But these two people were different from Natasha and Barton. Shield and the two only had a preliminary cooperative relationship, and he did not have much power to restrict the two. It's not that he didn't want to, but he didn't have the ability. In the final analysis, these two people were too strong, and their abilities were elusive. He even learned that Zhang Ming forced Golden Flash to shoot a bed scene for money, which was ridiculous. You don't need to see it to know that Zhang Ming rescued Ivan Vanko 100% for money. Under such circumstances, how could the other party hand over Ivan Vanko? Tony, none of this matters. Your palladium poisoning is almost reaching your heart. I have a way to cure your palladium poisoning. The answer is hidden in the box left by your father. As soon as he finished speaking, Natasha suddenly appeared and injected Tony with a shot of medicine. Oh shit, aren't you Golden Flash's agent? This potion can relieve the palladium in your body. Natasha said, and sat next to Nick Fury. Let me introduce you, this is Agent Romanov, my right-hand man. Oh, you are really bold. I am really surprised that the greedy guy didn't kill you. The greedy guy that Tony teased was naturally Zhang Ming. He was not surprised at all that an organization like S.H.I.E.L.D. would send an undercover agent to Zhang Ming. It was not certain that there was an undercover agent from S.H.I.E.L.D. around him. Before leaving, Black Sauce Egg had someone deliver the box left by Howard. Back at the villa, Tony found several videotapes in the box and found important clues while watching the videotapes. He found the relics left by his father, and with the help of Jarvis, he finally found a new element that could replace palladium. Thank you, Dad, for educating me after nearly 20 years of death. Tony sighed, and it also announced that he and Howard were back to normal. For the next period of time, Zhang Ming almost ran between the Hydra base and the villa. While supervising Whiplock's research on Iron Wars, he also had to take care of the little kids at home. Especially Uchiha Itachi. He had received several complaint calls from teachers, saying that Uchiha Itachi often caused trouble outside. In Manhattan Elementary School, Zhang Ming was invited by Uchiha Itachi's teacher to talk. To put it simply, almost all the black people near the school were beaten by Uchiha Itachi. Fortunately, Uchiha Itachi was just as for those adult black people outside. They didn't do anything to the black children in the school, otherwise they would definitely be expelled from the school. What else can Zhang Ming do? He can only say that he did a good job. Compared with the arrogant Uchiha Itachi, little Hinata is much more well-behaved, but her presence is very low. After all, Zhang Ming is a superhero. Although he is not as famous as the Golden Flash, the teacher did not dare to embarrass Uchiha Itachi for his sake. He just said some official words, asking Zhang Ming to spend more time with the children, and then let them go. Uchiha Itachi is obviously not interested in going to school. Zhang Ming, can I use my shadow clone to attend class instead of my real body in the future? Little Itachi, don't even think about it. Zhang Ming and his friends have not yet revealed their ability to clone their shadows in this world. It can be regarded as a trump card for him to prove his alibi after doing something bad in the future. How could he let Uchiha Itachi abuse it so easily? If it is exposed in some small things, wouldn't it be a big loss? Before they left the school, Zhang Ming found that a little brat had been following them. Who is that little brat? His name is Peter Parker. He is the top student in the class, but he is often bullied. Itachi Uchiha answered weakly. He was really tired of taking classes with a bunch of little brats. He might as well practice more ninjutsu to improve his strength. Peter Parker. Zhang Ming felt that Peter Parker at this point in time was worthless. Even if he wanted to invite him to join Hydra, he had to wait until he was in high school. It was not because of his identity as Spider-Man, but because of his scientific research ability, such as the spider silk launcher. Peter Parker is only 8 years old now. He looks thin and weak, and is only a little over 1 meter tall. The reason why he secretly followed several people was because he particularly admired superheroes like Zhang Ming, Golden Flash, and Iron Man, because he also had a heroic dream. Seeing that Zhang Ming and the others just glanced at him and ignored him, He swallowed his saliva, mustered up the courage to rush over and block the three people. My name is Peter Parker, I. Jiang Ming looked at the incoherent Peter Parker and found it a little funny. Little boy, are you stopping me for an autograph? Yes, no, I want to say that in addition to signing, I want to make friends with Itachi. Jiang Ming looked at Uchiha Itachi with some surprise, thinking that this future Spider-Man is sick. If you want to make friends with cute little Hinata, it's fine, but why do you want to make friends with Itachi, the wolf destroyer? You know, almost no one who makes friends with Itachi has a good ending, such as Shisui, Kisame, Biwa Juzo, all the Uchiha clansmen. Oh, kid, why do you want to make friends with the little weasel? Because of Taikula, Itachi cleaned up all the hooligans near the school. Peter Parker said that was not enough, and he started to dance and gesture. Have you ever hit anyone? What? Peter Parker was stunned for a moment, not understanding why Jiang Ming suddenly asked such a question. Jiang Ming smiled and pointed at the group of kids in front of him. Didn't that group of people just bully you? Beat someone up and see. Peter Parker shook his head. Uncle Ben said hitting people is wrong. You don't even dare to hit anyone, and you still say you want to be a superhero. You should just study hard. Jiang Ming patting his little head, he turned around and took Hinata's hand and was about to leave. Etc. Jiang Ming stopped and looked at the little guy in front of him. Peter Parker looked confused, and suddenly he shouted, "Ah!" and rushed over, and then, there was a crackling sound, and Peter Parker was knocked down in less than 10 seconds. Little Weasel, we at Hydra need talents like Peter Parker. Weasel nodded, rushed over and punched all the little brats one by one, knocking them down, leaving only an 8-year-old little girl looking at him with horror. No, don't hit me. Itachi looked at her expressionlessly and approached her step by step. The little girl was frightened by his eyes, sat down on the ground, and slowly backed away until she hit the wall behind her. Uchiha Itachi stepped forward, grabbed the little girl's foot with one hand, and clenched the other hand into a fist. The little girl was about to be killed. Boom. Little Weasel, don't go too far. Jiang Ming stepped forward and knocked him on the head, saying unhappily. He thought to himself that he was indeed the weasel of the future, who would exterminate all the people in the clan. He would not let anyone go, young or old, male or female. He could even kill such a cute little girl. He was so heartless. Itachi rubbed the back of his head with some grievance. It was Jiang Ming who asked him to do it, and he didn't understand why he had to be beaten. In his opinion, since they were all children, there should be no distinction between boys and girls. If they were to be taught a lesson, of course they should all be taught a lesson together. Jiang Ming helped the little girl up and smiled slightly. I'm sorry, little friend. I will teach him a lesson when I get back. The little girl blinked her eyes and looked at the big brother who saved her from the big devil, her little face flushed. Are you my Prince Charming? Jiang Ming was speechless. He didn't have the patience of Minato to coax a child. He just told her to go back to her mother. Woohoo woohoo woohoo, the little girl was very sad. She didn't expect that the Prince Charming in her mind would ask her to get out. It was too much. Jiang Ming then turned his attention to Peter Parker. Your name is Peter Parker, right? Very good, you passed the test, and you will be a member of my organization from now on. Peter Parker, who was originally frustrated, was stunned when he heard Jiang Ming's words, and then jumped up. Really? Great. By the way, what is the name of our organization? Jiang Ming certainly would not tell the name of Hydra to a little kid. Anyway, the future Spider-Man is already a member of Hydra, and this is an unchangeable fact. I will tell you the name of the organization after you go to high school, but I can tell you that our organization dares to arrest those who the police dare not arrest, and dares to investigate those who the police dare not investigate. From ordinary people to government members, the Emperor has the special permission to execute first and report later. This is the will of the snake. After a while of fooling around, Spider-Man was stunned and vowed to make contributions to the organization when he grows up. Jiang Ming looked at Spider-Man with a fanatical expression, and then nodded with satisfaction. It seems that Spider-Man has the potential to be a snake in the future. When he returned to the villa, he found Wanda and Pietro, the two siblings. Seeing that his eyes were a little evasive, he couldn't help but frown. Tell me, what happened to you guys? Pietro pointed at Wanda and said, Sister, she beat someone up at school. It's not my fault, it's all because of the annoying flies. Wanda quickly retorted. Jiang Ming glanced at Wanda with some surprise. Although Wanda was only 13 years old, she had grown into a beautiful lady. It was normal for some male classmates to pursue her. You didn't use chaos magic, did you? Wanda shook her head. No, I just smashed his head with a chair. Jiang Ming didn't care much, as long as he didn't bother him. After all, he was just a high school graduate, not much older than Wanda. Wanda winked at Pietro, who nodded and continued, Brother Jiang Ming, the teacher wants to see the parents. You can find Shuaman to meet the parents. No, to be honest, you have to go. Wanda stepped forward and grabbed the corner of Jiang Ming's clothes and started to act coquettishly. She and Pietro were rescued by Jiang Ming. They were not very familiar with Minato, a busy man, and had an instinctive dependence on Jiang Ming. Jiang Ming's mouth twitched, thinking that he was just a high school student. He had just met with the elementary school teacher, and now he had to meet the middle school teacher. What was going on? Days passed, and Jiang Ming was very busy during this period. He had to see the teacher when Uchiha Itachi fought, he had to see the teacher when Wanda fought, he had to see the teacher when Pietro fell in love early, he had to see the teacher, and he had to see the teacher when Hinata ate too much. He also had to take time to carry out the tasks arranged by S.H.I.E.L.D., and at the same time supervise the progress of Ivan Venko's armor research. That's fine, Tony's armor was missing, and he actually suspected him without any evidence. It's simply not a human being. Except for Minato, no one can give him peace of mind. I hope that the next person summoned by the system will not be a brat again. At the same time, in a small town in Mexico, a hammer fell from the sky. On the second day, the people in the town discovered the peculiarity of this hammer, which was that it could not be picked up no matter what. Even Mr. Lee couldn't help but come to participate, wanting to use a pickup truck to drag up the hammer, but ended up contributing his pickup truck. How could such a miracle be without the help of S.H.I.E.L.D., which controls everything in the world? And the person sent to carry out this mission was our good old man Coulson. Coulson tried every way to drag the hammer but couldn't, and finally thought of Jiang Ming's Flying Thunder God technique, so he contacted Jiang Ming as soon as possible. Do you have a Flying Thunder God kunai? Coulson looked at the kunai in his hand, which was given to him by Jiang Ming some time ago. Yes. Swish. As soon as Coulson finished speaking, Jiang Ming appeared in front of him in a second. No matter how many times, I still feel it's magical. Coulson, you should have reminded me that it's raining here. Jiang Ming grabbed the umbrella from Coulson without hesitation, and then came to Meow Meow Hammer and held the hammer handle. The hammer didn't move at all. Obviously, he was not qualified to lift Thor's hammer. In this case, let's try the Flying Thunder God technique. Swish. Jiang Ming disappeared with the hammer and appeared in front of Coulson. Who made him have the Flying Thunder God kunai in his hand? Boom. The hammer almost hit Coulson's foot. Mr. Jiang Ming, I didn't offend you, did I? Coulson was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. With the weight of this hammer, if it hit his foot would definitely have to be amputated. It's raining so hard here, and you didn't even remind me to bring an umbrella. You still dare to say that you haven't offended me. Coulson's mouth twitched. He had seen stingy people, but he had never seen such a stingy person. It seems that he must be careful when dealing with this guy in the future, lest he offend him accidentally and die without knowing how. After a period of experimentation, Jiang Ming discovered that this hammer seemed to have no weight. For example, he could use Flying Thunder God to transfer the hammer to the table, but the hammer could not smash through the table. However, it is impossible to move the table. If brute force is used, the table will break and the hammer will fall to the ground. Coulson looked puzzled. Mr. Jiang Ming, do you recognize this hammer? Meowth hammer, the hammer used by Thor. Jiang Ming did not pretend not to know him and told the truth. Anyway, he and the summoned Hokage characters all appeared out of thin air. When Lu Dan asked him, he refused to answer directly, and Lu Dan could not do anything to him. Are you kidding me? Coulson obviously didn't believe it. As an excellent agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and a materialist, how could he possibly believe in the existence of Thor? If you told him that there were aliens, would he believe it? You can think of it as an alien who can use lightning. Coulson nodded. If it was explained this way, he could understand it. At this moment, a blond muscular man knocked down several security guards and rushed in. Stop! What are you trying to do with my hammer? Thanks for watching.